Hi there. Today we're going to take a look at this. This is the SX-1 by Paravision, and it's probably the most expensive and rare expansion for the CD32. Let's get cracking. This is my CD32, and you have seen this in a previous video if you are a regular on this channel. And it has its CD drive, and it has two joystick ports, an aux port where you can put your keyboard. It has a 3.5mm audio jack here, and it does have a power input, composite video, S-video, and the usual sounds. This is TV output, aerial TV, RF TV, and this is composite. And this makes it pretty much an Amiga minus all the useful functions like a hard drive, floppy drive, a memory expansion. So you can use this as a CD32 and you can use CD media, but this is pretty much it. So when this came out, and this is close to a A1200 in technical specification, it's not an A1200, which was pointed out to me many times in comments and angry mails from viewers. Thank you for that, by the way. There's another thing on this which is more like not there, and that is this expansion port. And I don't have the original cover, so it's 3D printed one. If you take this screw out and you remove this cover, you see that there's actually an expansion port. And on that expansion port goes, drum roll, an expansion. And there's actually more than one, but probably the rarest of them all. And they are modern expansions, by the way, like the Terrible Fire, which actually you need a connector that goes on here, and then puts the card in there. You can put your cover back on, which is pretty cool. And it has an 060 or an 040 on it, depending on what you buy, and memory expansion and IDE controller. Very nice. But to get the real Amiga experience, like with a disk drive, the hard disk, at least the A1200 experience, you need something different. And as I said, this is probably the rarest expansion of them all, because this is the Paravision SX-1. And it's a metal box, and by the sheer size of it, you can already see that, well, that won't fit in here, as you can see. Instead, it gets put on like this. So it sits on the back of this, and it makes this very chunky. Didn't know that before, so I bought one, or the only one, I might say, because I checked eBay sold listings, at least eBay Germany, and I couldn't find a single one of this sold. So mine is the first one, seemingly. And I paid an interesting price because the seller stated that it is, well, tested, untested, no guarantees. And so I took the hit and I ordered it anyway. And yeah, let's take a look around this thing. First we have on the, so this plugs into the back. These are the two connectors. So you have a connector here and one spare connector up here because this is not used. You can plug in a Terrible Fire, theoretically. You have your RGB port here. You have a hard drive connector here, which is interestingly not a SCSI but an IDE connector. You have a parallel connector here. You have an enable-disable switch. You have a spare slot for an SCSI, an external SCSI connector. This doesn't have a SCSI connector inside or a SCSI controller, so this is empty for now, but you could use it for anything else. You have classic floppy connector to connect the floppy. You have a serial port, You have an AT keyboard connector, which you can add a simple AT keyboard, which you can or could get back in the day. This is from, I think, 95 or 96. You could get for pennies. And you have another audio connector, which is proprietary to this, and it's just putting audio in and putting audio out over the CD32. So the audio is not processed, it's not a digitizer, it's just an audio connection. So I actually found an advert from Australia for the Paravision SX-1. At last, the most eagerly awaited Amiga expansion ever can be in your hands, offering memory expansion up to 8 MB, serial, parallel, external floppy, IDE, RGB video, IBM compatible keyboard, plus a karaoke control unit interface. Okay, I assume they are talking about this audio port here. Well, it's a bit rich to call that a karaoke control unit interface. Maybe there is one, which is not in my unit. Could be. The Paravision SX-1 transforms the CD32 from a powerful home entertainment console into a fully blown home computer, superior even to the 1200. That might actually be true. Dimensions: 17 centimeters deep, extending behind the CD32 by 15 centimeters wide, about the width of the CD32 expansion port connector, by slightly shorter than the CD32 height. Yeah, that could be true. Serial connector, DB9 connector, different to A1200. Disable switch, disables IDE, floppy, parallel, and serial interface. Will not disable memory sim, RGB video, keyboard, translator, or audio input interface. Parallel connector, DB25, video connector, DB23, 1200 compatible RGB, does not have -12 present. On connector does have combined FMV, which is full motion video, and CD32 video data. So this is the reason why this has actually two slots here. One slot into the CD32, and you can put the FMV or the full motion video MPEG card up here and slide that into the machine. Then this would be fully decked out. Floppy connector, real-time clock, RTC, IDE hard drive connector, DB37 external IDE connector. That's interesting. AT101 keyboard connector, 5-pin DIN connector, allowing the connection of a standard IBM 101 AT keyboard into the CD32. Audio input connector, 6-pin mini DIN style connector, allowing the addition of a karaoke microphone and control unit. Ah, okay. This input will be mixed with the Amiga audio output and the CD player output. Memory SIM connector, single internal 72 pin SIM socket is provided. You can install 1, 2, 4, or 8 Mac SIMs. MPEG pass-through, FMV. Yeah, and it may require a higher rated PSU. So in my case, that worked. I could use the disk drive and the floppy drive at the same time. But I did see that it was a bit unstable at times and just rebooted. So I didn't put this in the video, but it happened. Yeah, so that is pretty much the advert. I also have the manual, but it doesn't give any more than this, and the jumper settings, and I already told you about it, or will tell you in a minute. So to use this, you just plug this in the back. It doesn't need any power or anything. It gets its power from the CD32, and that makes this power brick even more important. Not even sure if this is enough, but we will see. I already removed the screws from this, and you can just lift this up, and in there lies the magic. So inside here we have an expansion slot for 72-pin SIMs, 1, 2, 4, or 8 megabytes you can put in here. We have stuff, real-time clock. We have the CIA chips here, 8520, because we need these for the at least for the floppy. And we have some logic for parallel and serial and an IDE controller. So if we want to take this out, we have to remove all the port screws here, which I've already done. These are screwed in, and this is what holds this in place. Then you can remove this connector here, and you see this is just one of these pretty much standard adapters, which has this audio connector on here. And then you just lift this out of here, and under there lies the hard disk, which is normally screwed in like this. So there are screws on top here, and that's pretty much all that's in here. It's a metal box. On the underside there's just a few caps and resistors, but no logic. So all the logic is on this board here, made in USA. So maybe this is more popular or more available in the US or Canada, or I don't know, but it's pretty hard to come by in Germany. Yeah, this has actually, this is a 60 gig hard drive from Toshiba. Uses the classic mini IDE, which is already coming loose here. Yeah, so that's pretty much all you can say about this. Let's plug it in and see if it works, I think. And one thing I already noticed is that this is very, very wobbly. Not sure if it gets more strength if it's screwed in, but this is extremely wobbly. Well, let's find out if it works. So I did get an OSSC to do proper capturing, open source scan converter, and I will have to adjust the size of this little video window here in a minute. So everything is connected. I have the RGB out here, so no S-video or something. We are just using the video out of this SX-1 box here. Mouse, controller, hard disk, power, and let's see what happens. Well, look at that. Actually boots into Workbench. That's pretty cool, and the RGB works too, so this actually works. And we have 1.1 megs of chip RAM. No other RAM because there's no RAM stick in there. I ordered one. I thought I had 72-pin SIMs, but I don't. So there's actually stuff on here. Tools, that's the standard stuff. Expansion, nothing. Zeugs, which means stuff in German. Do we have here do work, which is directory work, which it's directory manager. Okay, so yeah, that works. So we could test the AT keyboard because I have one somewhere, and I want to upgrade this to a CF card or an SD card. Already changed the battery in here, but it seems to work, so that is kind of nice. And I wanted to show you that this exists because it's a real rarity. If you have one or had one back in the day, please comment and let me know what you used this for, because the alternative was one with a turbo card in there. I think there were some with an 030 or an 040 card. Also an SX extension box like this, probably even with a SCSI adapter. So if you have one or had one, let me know what you do with it. Other than that, I think the Terrible Fire, which is inside here, including the hard disk or the CF card, would be a much nicer addition to this to complete this, but it doesn't have the floppy port. By the way, the floppy port. Let's test if this actually can boot from a floppy disk, because I haven't tested that yet. So here's my external Gotek. Put this here, and this connects to the right side of this. Hold this very steady so it doesn't get pulled out of here, because it's really finicky, and that is what I read about it on the internet, that if it just moves a little, it doesn't get a connection, it doesn't work. So I'm pretty happy that we did get it to work first time. So let's see what we get. Shows this. Let's try Amiga test kit. It's doing stuff. Or I think it's booting from hard disk. Yeah, it is. Ah, but there is Amiga test kit. Nice. 2 megs of RAM. RTC battery. CIA. Looks good too. Nice. We have Kickstart 3.1, which is the standard for the CD32, 68 or 20. Ah, we could do sysinfo on this. Okay, so that works. Let's press the reset button. Let's see if it actually can boot into this by holding down the 2 mouse buttons and getting into the boot manager. Not sure if that works. Ah, okay, boot manager, nice. Boot options, let's say DF0, yep, and boot. It should boot now into Amiga test kit right from the, it does, GoTech. Nice, okay, so floppy works, cool. Not sure if I have sysinfo in here. Oh, I have. Look at that. Okay, let's reset and let's do this again with sysinfo. Okay, clock found, AJA Alice 2 megs, AJA Lisa chip, 68 EC020. Let's check this. It should be around the A1200, I think. Yeah, it is. 1259 dry stones and 1.03 times the speed of an A1200. Yeah, if there would be a sim in as fast RAM, I think that would improve the speed. And I might do a short video about this, the speed improvement, when I put a sim in there, because I don't think it will be here in time for this video. Yeah, so now this is a full Amiga 1200 plus the expansions of the CD32, and you can use it. It's even bigger than a 1200, so I was hoping I could just plug that in there and would be good to go, and I had this very compact thing on my desk as my go-to Amiga, but nope, that is not the freaking case. So I will not test the serial, I will not test the parallel port, but we can of course test the keyboard port. Let me grab an AT keyboard. Okay, so I found this Commodore keyboard, which should be AT, which is in very nice condition except for this little crack here. Never used it and it's dirty. And I originally bought it for my PC20, which yeah, doesn't work. However, let's boot this up again and let's see if we can actually use this in Workbench. We get a numlock light here, which is good, and we have, where's an editor? Let's use Emacs. Not quite. That didn't work. Not sure if I have to somehow activate the keyboard. Doesn't seem like it. So there are 5 jumpers. The first one is for 1 or 2 memory banks. So if you have a sim which has 1 side or 2 sides populated. The second jumper is for 4 megs. Third is for test, whatever that might mean. And it's on right now. The fourth is for 10-second delay. So if you boot the machine, you can have a 10-second delay depending on the hard drive you have to spin up. And we have right alt is control. So you could use this control key as the right alt key. I don't know why it doesn't work. Maybe this is not an AT keyboard. Maybe this is an XT keyboard. I have no idea. Let me grab another keyboard. Okay, brought out another keyboard. This is even a clicky one. And it's a tulip keyboard. And this one does have a switch, which is hidden here. It says A and X. If you pull this little rubber thing, you can see it's on AT or on A mode right now. So this should definitely be an AT keyboard now. Already plugged it in. Let's try this. Hello world. Yeah, that works. Nice. Okay, keyboard works. So now you can use an AT keyboard on your Amiga CD32. If you don't have an Amiga keyboard, because you could also plug in an Amiga keyboard in the aux port right on the CD32 using an adapter or using an A4000 keyboard, which is pretty much the same as an A3000 and an A2000 keyboard. And I have two of these, so I could also use what is left. I want to replace this hard drive, even though it works and it's period accurate. I think I want to change this for an SD or CF card solution, so let's do this next. So I did order this SD card to IDE interface, but it turns out this doesn't work with this. So I pulled out one of my old SD card solutions, which is a slot, which has a slot bracket actually. And yeah, that actually works. Yeah, I booted from disk because this is a 3.1 ROM and it wouldn't boot from the 3.22 hard drive. So here's my hard drive on the CF card. Yeah, and there are all the programs. So that works. Yeah, I won't reinstall everything now. I will just put in the old hard disk and close it up. And I will do a follow-up video if I get one of the sim sticks to put in here and see if the RAM actually works. But for now, this thing works perfectly fine. So yeah, I think that concludes this video. So what do you think about the SX-1 from Paravision? Any good? Interesting? I don't really need it. I have Amiga 1200s with disk drives. Would be nice to have a more compact solution for this here, and that might be actually the TF or the Terrible Fire card. But on the other hand, I don't need it. I really don't. I have a 1200 with a 68 or 30 card, which is plenty of speed, more than I will ever need for anything I do on the Amiga. So I like this thing. It's a piece. Let me switch this off and can actually get it out of here somehow. Yeah, just to show you, this is how this is mounted on the bottom. So this cable goes through here and then this back in here. Make sure the cable is flat here and slide it all. Slide it all in like this. And this is how it sits in here. And then you put in the port screws. So this is it back in the casing. This port is free for the SCSI extension if you have one. Yeah, and here you can see how this hard drive is sandwiched in there. And then you put on this and you are good to go. Put in 2 screws and that's all there is. So yeah, that goes of course in here too, like this. Still pretty wobbly. So that is what I read in the internets. that the connection is wobbly, and I noticed this myself. So yeah, what do you think about this very, very, very expensive piece of OG hardware from 1994, actually? It's 30 years old now. Let me know in the comments, and as I said, if you had one or plan on getting one or were lusting for one back in the day, let me know what you do with it. And yeah, I think this concludes this video. So thank you as always for watching, and I see you in the next one. Cheerio.
Thank you for watching Retro is the New Black. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you like the video, please share. Every like, share, and comment helps a lot. Until next time, bye-bye.